Hello, everyone, and welcome back to SportNotes. So, fun episode that we have for you today. The Super Bowl is coming up, so I'm here with Peter and Zeke. Peter, Zeke, Super Bowl, it's huge. I know we're not that excited about it this year, but, what are you doing for it? Who are you watching it with?
Yeah, definitely not excited about it. Probably the last two possible teams I would have wanted in the matchup, the Kansas City Chiefs and Philadelphia Eagles. Terrible fan bases, really hard teams to root for, but hey, you know what? The Super Bowl's bigger than just football, right? So I'm going to be watching with my good buddies, maybe ordering some wings.
Of course.
Some chili, maybe. Having a beer or two just to take the edge off of this terrible matchup. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to it still. Peter, how you feeling about it, man?
Hate the Eagles fans, hate the Chiefs franchise. The Chiefs are ruining football with their flopping and their antics. But I'm going to be rooting for the Eagles. I've just accepted it.
Yeah.
There's only one team I root for the Eagles against, and it's the Chiefs. I like Saquon Barkley.
Yep.
I don't hate Jalen Hurts.
I like Devontae Smith.
Yeah, I don't hate all the Eagles players. I hate their fans. They're scumbags and they're kind of asses. And it's kind of well known across the United States outside of Philly that nobody likes Philadelphia. Philly fans will never admit it, but obviously. But yeah, I'm going to be rooting for the Eagles. I do hope that they win. I'm done with the Chiefs, and I hope it's the last Super Bowl the Chiefs make in a long time. So
wouldn't that be nice?
it would be.
Yeah.
I'm not wearing red for the Chiefs today. Please don't read into that.
Different shade of red.
Yeah,
So
definitely
we won't call you out for it.
Our goal with this podcast is we're hoping to help anyone who doesn't enjoy watching sports or doesn't really know much about sports. We're going to teach you a little bit. So today, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about the Super Bowl.
Absolutely, man. I mean, I know you mentioned, like, there's a lot of people out there who don't really know much about sports, don't follow it too often, but I think this is one of the kind of few events that's sort of bigger than sports. Like, everyone really watches this. It's more than just football. I mean, you've got halftime shows, the pageantry beforehand. It's kind of this global event that everyone tunes into once a year, and it's pretty rare across all of professional sports. So
Yeah, and something too you'll probably hear about a lot is there's a lot of fun things with the Super Bowl in terms of like prop betting, and that's probably going to be all over social media, and people are going to be talking about it. I mean, how long is the national anthem going to be? They do bets on that, like who's going to win the coin toss? Is it going to be heads or tails? What's the color of the national anthem singer's shoes? Like, there's these crazy bets that come out. And, I mean, it's a global event. There's 123.7 million viewers. So all these little things they take advantage of, and it's honestly fun. It's
absolutely.
Right, so we're going to chat about it today. So we're going to take a look at the history, some of the top moments, the evolution, and also this year's Super Bowl as well. So where we're going to start off is going to be in the 1960s.
Yeah, exactly. I think the main thing there is the Super Bowl is just starting out, and really that was all about the merger between the NFL and the AFL.
Yeah, so the NFL was the National Football League at the time, and the AFL was the American Football League. And they were competitors in the 1960s, and in 1966 they decided to merge into one National Football League, into the NFC and AFC.
Exactly, and really the first Super Bowl that we had was in 1967 when the Packers faced the Chiefs.
Yep, they called it the AFL versus NFL Championship. Pretty crazy matchup between two storied franchises, right?
Yeah, Packers beat the Chiefs 35-10, and it'd be nice if the Eagles did the same, because nobody likes the Chiefs.
Yeah, honestly, the whole country, I think, hopes that the Eagles are going to beat the Chiefs, unless if you live in that Kansas City metro area or you're just a bandwagon fan. So let's talk a little bit about where the term Super Bowl comes from. Apparently, Lamar Hunt, who was the owner of the Chiefs, he actually created it.
Yeah, when you told me this story, I could not believe it. It was like the most anticlimactic kind of creation story I've heard in a while.
Yeah, so pretty much what ended up happening is one of his, I think it was his grandchild or something, had a ball called a Super Bowl or something like that. And pretty much when he first saw that, he said, Super Bowl, that's a great name. Honestly, kind of a shocking turn of events for how you come up with that name, but it stuck, and we've had it ever since. So,
do we really believe that, or is that just like a urban legend myth that people think it's cute that, hey, it was born out of a children's toy? Like,
I'll be honest, I'm not sure. I think it's one of those things where you always want to get credit for creating the name of such a global phenomenon like the Super Bowl. So
Well, Lamar Hunt also owned the Chiefs, right?
he did. He was the
So
Chiefs
that
owner.
checks out then.
Yeah.
He had such a stupid story of creating the name of the Super Bowl.
Do you see on social media this week that Bill Belichick said the trophy should be renamed to the Brady Trophy?
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
Yeah.
That would be excellent.
Because right now, and this is a little off topic, but the trophy is called the Lombardi Trophy, which I think PJ is going to talk about the Packers and why it is. But it's called the Lombardi Trophy because Vince Lombardi was the coach of the Packers when they won the first Super Bowl. And Belichick, who we'll talk about later, the Patriots' all-time great coach, was like, it should be named after Tom Brady because he won the most Super Bowls, and he's kind of like the icon of the Super Bowl now.
And we'll get into Brady and Belichick plenty when we start covering more recent Super Bowls. But
Absolutely. So right now, we're still in the 1960s. The merger has already happened, and as Peter mentioned, the Green Bay Packers were the dominant force in the league. Then we move into the 70s, where things slightly shifted.
Yeah, it started growing popularity back in the 70s, but marching bands were actually the halftime show at that time.
And you know what though? I don't really mind that because it has an element of college football. Like, you think of college football, there's a bunch of marching bands, which I think is kind of cool. But I think the main thing to take away for the 70s is the dominant teams that were winning championships were the Cowboys, the Dolphins, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So when you think of the 70s, those three teams come to mind.
When you move into the 80s and you think of the Super Bowl, you really think of commercials and how those became popular.
Yeah, there was like a 1984 Apple commercial that's pretty famous. Have you guys seen that?
On January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh.
Yeah,
I've definitely
it's actually
seen it.
crazy. Yeah,
That's kind of where it kicked off where, hey, brands and companies are going to be vying for ad times during the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And it makes sense because think about how many eyes are on the game, right?
Yeah, I feel like growing up too, there's always a couple ads from Super Bowls that you remembered. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I remember the one from a couple years ago. I think it was like maybe it was a crypto ad, maybe like a Coinbase ad.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how they do on like retro DVDs, how like the DVD thing is hitting each side of the TV.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
you
yeah, I
remember
sit
that
and
one.
you wait for
Yeah.
it to hit the corner, and it comes close and it never does. And so I think it was Coinbase or Crypto.com, or it was one of the, I don't remember the exact one, but they did that with like a QR code.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they were like, scan the QR code, and it sent you to like download the app or something.
Okay.
And it was just bouncing around the screen, and it was going viral, and then they actually hit the corner. So I remember that one, and I remember there was a way back when like a Budweiser ad, and Budweiser always has one, but
With the Clydesdale horses.
yeah,
it's
the
the best.
horses, the snow. It's just like
Yeah.
there was one a couple years ago too. Oh my God! It was like, remember the ad was
it was
like,
the Tubi
Tubi
ad,
and it was
where,
like you had left your screen and you were on the
yeah.
menu, and people were like
So
grabbing
annoying.
their clickers, and they were like, "What's going
Clever.
on? Why am I?" Yeah, it was a very clever commercial for Tubi.
I guess really the one last thing to say about the 80s, I know commercials were a big part of it, but that era was really dominated by the San Francisco 49ers. You hear the name Joe Montana, one of the most famous football players of all time, one of the best quarterbacks of all time. And then you also have Jerry Rice, who is his wide receiver. Caught a bunch of touchdown passes from Joe Montana.
Yep.
Another one of the best players
Steve
of all
Young
time.
in the '80s too.
I think so. I think he was at the tail end. And really the 49ers, but the one caveat is the 85 Chicago Bears. They had one of the best teams, I think, football experts, football fans say of all time.
They went
Great.
18-1.
Yep, great defense. Refrigerator Perry. If anyone recognized that name from the McConaughey commercials, actually, of Uber Eats.
Yep.
Saying, football's all about food.
Refrigerator Perry was not his real name.
Walter Payton, one of the best running backs. Sweetness, Walter Payton. And then Mike Ditka. He's like the classic, if you hear Da Bears or Chicago Bears, you think Mike Ditka. He's got the mustache, embodies Chicago. So
If you've seen Kicking and Screaming too, Mike Ditka's in that movie,
he is in that movie.
which is
crazy.
hilarious. It's so random, but it's awesome.
Yeah. He and Will Ferrell work well together.
Oh, absolutely. It's a great movie.
Kind of a wild combo, but yeah, I guess you could say that.
Yeah.
So moving from the 80s into the 90s, really this was the era dominated by the Cowboys. They had Troy Aikman, they had Michael Irvin, and Emmitt Smith.
Great offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you talk about the Cowboys being America's team and everybody saying that the Cowboys are America's team, it's because of this era. It's not because of anything they've done the past 30 years.
Yeah.
It's because of this era of Cowboys.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They had that Super Bowl win against the Bills, right?
Yep.
52-17. The Bills are an interesting team, too, because they're probably the most snake-bitten franchise of all time.
Yeah.
I think they made 4 Super Bowls and lost them all during that era, led by Jim Kelly. You have that infamous kick where I think it was like 35, 45 yards or something, and it was to win the game, and the kicker kicked it wide right. Like, it was brutal.
Yeah.
They could never win a Super Bowl then.
But they always went to the Super Bowl.
Always went to the Super Bowl. They lost to the Giants, actually, when that's where Bill Belichick was starting to make a name for himself as a coach on the Giants staff. So.
I think that when you hear nowadays about the Bills and how they just can't get past the Chiefs, there's kind of a history behind that of the Bills just never could get the final win. They could never win it all, and they're just snake bitten.
Yep.
And they have some of the most passionate fans in the entire world. And I mean like across any sport anywhere.
Yeah.
Bills fans are some of the most passionate. And they're crazy about the Buffalo Bills. And they just, every year they get upset. And it's a lot of times people root for the Bills because they want to see them actually win that big game. And they just can't.
And it still rings true today. Look what happened recently with the Bills almost beating the Chiefs in the AFC Championship.
For like the third
So
three
close.
times. The Bills, and this is just real quick, the Bills were up by 3 with 13 seconds left against the Chiefs and blew it. A
couple years
ago,
ago,
The Bills
yeah.
were kicking a field goal at home against the Chiefs, and they missed it. I forget if that was to tie or to take the lead. And then this year they were winning with under 10 minutes left, and they got stuffed on a 4th and 1 on a very debatable call. I mean, every single year it feels like they just get screwed. They get screwed.
There's just something about that franchise where they just cannot get over the hump. Another thing also to talk about just with the 90s is in 1993, Michael Jackson, he performed at the halftime show of that Bills-Cowboys Super Bowl. And that was, arguably one of the best halftime shows of all time. And that kind of segues us well into our more modern era of the Super Bowl where it's really become so much more of a spectacle.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with Michael Jackson's show, that sort of set the precedent for future ones to come.
Yep.
Change the format of halftime performances, increase the global appeal of the event because now, non-football fans start tuning into games just to watch the halftime show.
I think the first big one, and I mean, obviously I'm biased because I am a Patriots fan, was that 2001 Super Bowl. And a lot of people talk about that one because, right, 9/11 was that year.
Yeah.
So it was like this massively tragic year in America. And, at the end of the football season, it was like everyone can come together and celebrate the Super Bowl. And the Rams were like the greatest show on turf is what they call them. They were this unbelievable team. And then you had the Patriots who were like these massive underdogs, and they represented like Patriots and like kind of America in a way. And that was also one of the first like global moments is that year too. And that was also the start of the Patriots dynasty that a lot of people will talk about.
I guess because now we're in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Should we talk about some of our favorite Patriots Super Bowl memories? Because
there's a lot.
That era was dominated by the Pats.
I mean, there was what,
Belichick.
24 Super Bowls between 2000 and now, and the Patriots won 6. We're in like 9 or 10 of them.
Yeah.
9 of them, I think, and then Brady won another one. So Brady was in 10 of the last 24 Super Bowls, pretty much.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, I know this is like not our favorite memory as Super Bowl fans, but I feel like we have to talk about the helmet catch in 2008.
Unfortunately.
Right? The Patriots are coming in. Giants are massive underdogs. Everyone was picking the Pats to win, but of course, like somehow an act of God, David Tyree catches a football on the top of his helmet towards the end of the game. Giants go on to win 17-14. An upset for the ages.
Yeah.
Pats were also undefeated that year too. They had not lost a single game until the Super Bowl. So
and they were massive favorites in that game.
Yeah.
They've been dominating teams all year, and they just happened to play the one team that played them really close in the regular season.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And kind of had the recipe for how to beat the Patriots. And that was probably that may have been the biggest upset in Super Bowl history.
I think you're probably
Yeah,
right.
I would say
I think
so.
if you were to say, hey, what was the biggest upset in Super Bowl history? People would probably point to the Giants beating the undefeated Patriots, who if they had won that game, the Patriots, they would have gone down as the greatest team of all time.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, 100, yeah. Right up there with the Bears, the 85 Bears.
85
I'd say.
Bears and
Yeah.
the Dolphins, who actually went undefeated.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
But you can't claim the team the best team of all time if you don't win the Super Bowl.
No, absolutely not.
That was like one of the most devastating sports memories that I have, because in that era, the Patriots were good. The Red Sox were good. They won in 2004. They won in 2007. And then the Patriots were going to break all these records. They were going to be undefeated. I think going into the game as Pats fans, we were all like, it's a lock. We've won the Super Bowl. And that helmet catch was just absolutely devastating.
This Patriots Super Bowl and how devastating it was to Patriots fans, because Patriots had won 3 Super Bowls. They'd been the dominant team of the era, and it was just like this. We were all so greedy. We're like, we want to be that undefeated team.
Yep.
You know what, though? It got better a couple of years later.
But
it did get better.
This is what we all want to happen to the Kansas City Chiefs fans.
Yeah,
the
that would be
Kansas City
amazing.
Chiefs right now are the Patriots of 07, their fans.
Mm-hmm.
They've won 3 Super Bowls in the past 4 years. They're a dominant team. And now they can for the first time ever, they can win 3 Super Bowls in a row. And they're the favorites, and everybody thinks they're going to win. And I want their hearts whipped out. That's what I want, and that's what everybody in America who's not a Chiefs fan wants.
The good thing for the Patriots is that later on in the 2000s, we ended up getting another Super Bowl win, but this time we were on the
2015.
right side in 2015. In 2015, the Patriots played against the Seattle Seahawks, widely known to have arguably one of the best defenses of all time. Their
Coined
secondary,
the Legion of Boom.
they were called the Legion of Boom, and we had another catch, though, by Curse.
Oh.
Jermaine Curse made one of the most insane catches I think we've ever seen, and every Patriots fan was thinking to themselves, oh my goodness,
Deja vu.
here we go, it's the helmet catch 2.0.
And just, not even the helmet catch, though, PJ, because then the Patriots were in the Super Bowl in 2011, and there was another ridiculous catch by Mario Manningham of the Giants on the sideline when the Giants were losing, and they had to drive down to take the lead in the fourth quarter, and it happened again. So it was like, when this happened, it's like, oh my God, for the 3rd year in a row, there's going to be a crazy catch that's going to lose the game.
I can still picture in my head, he's the receiver. It's like the end of the game, the Seahawks are driving. The guy's on his back, and the ball's like being tipped up in the air, right?
Yeah,
And
it's
it
one
hits
of the
off his
craziest
leg.
catches ever.
He somehow comes down with it. Like it's like, this is
On the
it can't
5-yard line with under a minute left.
Can't be happening again.
The Seahawks then get within the 5-yard line, and they have one of the best running backs in the NFL, Marshawn Lynch. The Seahawks decided that they were going to throw the ball, and Malcolm Butler, who was a defensive player for the Patriots, ended up intercepting the pass on the goal line. It's one of the craziest clips you'll ever see.
Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler. Unreal. Malcolm Butler, who almost...
Pats fans went wild. Finally, something close went our way. Just an incredible play. I know I was completely shocked that happened.
One of the dumbest play calls of all time, too.
And
the
the
history of
the
it.
Seahawks
Absolutely.
had just won a recent Super Bowl, too. I think it was 2 years before.
Oh, yeah,
They won in 2013.
Drummed the Broncos.
I think they had won. Did they? Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
they
it was 2
drummed
years
the
before,
Broncos.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
And I mean, let me just say this:
Or
Marshawn
they won in
Lynch,
2014.
So they were going for the first
They're going back to
Back to back.
Wow.
since the Patriots. I think we should fact check that. It might have been, but
HQJ, want to get on that?
Check that.
Marshawn Lynch was probably my favorite running back of all time.
He was the best.
He was. If you're looking for entertainment and you're not maybe a crazy football fan, look up Marshawn Lynch interview highlights.
It was 2014.
And it was. Okay, so they were going back to
And
that.
his celebrations. He'd grab
And
his
his-
nuts in the end zone every
And he
time
would eat
scored.
Skittles in the end zone.
Yeah.
He's
He's
crazy.
infamous
He's
for he'd
awesome.
be like, I'd take a couple shots of, was it Jack before the game or something?
Yeah,
Like, he'd
something
take a
like
couple
that.
shots
Yeah.
before he played.
Yeah. Awesome.
He is just look up Marshawn Lynch interview highlights, and it's very entertaining even for not football fans. But that was the first time I didn't feel bad for Marshawn Lynch is that game.
And you know what, though? Like, as crazy of a win that was, the Pats actually outdid themselves even more 2 years later in 2017 against the Atlanta
What a
Falcons.
game. Oh,
That has to be, in my opinion, the best Super Bowl of all time.
100%.
Right? I don't think it's even
No
close.
question.
Right?
Yep.
When
Yeah.
you think about it, Pats are playing the Atlanta Falcons. They're down 28-3 in the third quarter.
Yeah.
The game's over. Everyone thinks the game's over. But somehow they mount this furious comeback, had to get 2-point conversions, tie the game, and it's like, okay, they have to win now. And they go into overtime, which actually is cool because this was the first ever Super Bowl that they went into overtime after all these years, too.
You told me that, too, and I was completely shocked because this was
I
Super
know.
Bowl 51. We'd had 50 Super Bowls before that. None had ever gone to overtime.
It's kind of crazy. It is crazy because they're all such close games, too.
Oh
yeah,
my God.
exactly. It's crazy.
No, that game was crazy. I remember we were watching that, and there were some people who were rooting for the Falcons near us, and they were like, they were dancing and celebrating at halftime. They were like, "You guys suck. It's over." And that comeback was, I mean, that was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
You're just picturing the James White touchdown at the end of the game. And James White, like, he's a good football player, but he wasn't like one of the big names on the Pats offense that year, right? And he was like the player of the game.
Had the game of
Was
his
that
life.
the only Super Bowl for the Patriots that everybody was healthy, I think, was the Seahawks one.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an insane game.
Because
but-
Gronk was hurt for the Falcons one.
Yeah. Brady won his 5th Super Bowl title, by the way. And that year was insane because you had Deflategate, where the Pats were accused of deflating footballs the year before. And Brady was suspended the first 4 games of the season.
Yep.
So he was on kind of a revenge tour against the NFL and Goodell. His mom was sick the entire year, too. Like, he was just carrying a lot of emotional baggage that whole year. Great to see him win.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%.
Unfortunately, though, the next year, the Patriots went back. Or, sorry, the next year they went back. And if there was one Super Bowl that I was the most confident the Patriots would win, it was actually the next year because they were facing the Eagles and their backup quarterback. And
I was actually at this game, and I was like you. I was convinced. I was telling everyone Pats 55-3, Pats 48-7. It was going to be a blowout.
Yeah.
But somehow Philadelphia rallied behind Nick Foles. Peter said their backup quarterback, and won 41-33.
So you jinxed that Super Bowl.
I did.
100%.
It was
at the
it was an
game.
insane game at the game in Minnesota. Beautiful arena there, or stadium, U.S. Bank Stadium. But it was so much offense, over 1,000 combined yards of offense of both teams. It sucked. I wish they got a win. That's when I kind of had my first exposure to the scumbagness of Philadelphia fans. And you know what's actually crazy is I was at this game. They lost. Chad, our good friend, we all know Chad, part of SportNotes. He was at the 2017 Super Bowl. And we love you, Chad. We know you're not the biggest sports fan, but the fact that you're at the most famous Super Bowl of all time blows my mind. It doesn't make any sense to me. I wish our roles were reversed there, and you were at the 2018 game. But
2018 game was a great game, but if you were an Eagles fan, it was a lot better.
It was just it was a devastating loss.
If you were a resident scumbag, it was a lot better.
It was a really tough loss, but kind of moving away from the dominance of the Patriots, now we're kind of moving into the era of the Chiefs. Now,
before we get to that, can we mention one more game earlier?
Sure.
So in 2013, we had the Ravens versus the 49ers.
Oh, the brother game.
The brother game.
Yeah.
So John Harbaugh was coaching the Ravens. Jim Harbaugh was coaching the 49ers. I think it was the first time 2 brothers were coaching against each other in the game. And what the funny about that was, it was in the Superdome. The lights went out in the 3rd quarter.
Yeah.
The 49ers were down 28-6, but they had to stop the game for a while because the power went out. And then when it came back on, 49ers stormed this amazing comeback, but they couldn't get it done. Ravens ended up winning. That was kind of what was known for the game. But also Beyonce had her halftime show during that. And that was a phenomenal halftime show. Kind of set the precedent for the rest of the decade, the 2000s, of, hey, we got to match this level of energy right here.
That was the return of the 49ers.
While we're on halftime shows, can we just talk? What are some of our favorite halftime shows of recent memory here?
The Beyonce halftime show is one of the greatest of all time, I would say. I would say when Shakira and J-Lo performed, that was just a great show.
Of course you'd say that, man.
Of course you like that
I mean, it was a great. I love their music.
He's a big fan of their music, guys. That's it.
And that's all I'm gonna say.
Single Peach over there loved that show.
Thanks, guys.
It was a good show. Katy Perry had a good one too.
With the Sharks, that was awesome.
I really liked it. I don't know if this is a consensus opinion. I liked the Weeknd's halftime show.
I liked the Weeknd's too.
I was iffy on the Weeknd. I couldn't tell what was going on, and when he got into the mirror maze, I was like, it kind of tripped me out a little bit.
Looked like he just got mugged by a bunch of
it was like,
people too.
It was crazy. I was like,
I still think he should have started with The Hills.
I know,
But
that was a weird year because like he had just put out his album with Blinding Lights, and everyone was tabbing him to win a bunch of Grammys.
Yeah,
was nominated for none, and there was like this conspiracy theory that he could only perform at the Grammys or the Super Bowl halftime. You couldn't do both. He picked the Super Bowl halftime, so he was just shunned from like
That's crazy.
I know.
Not too bad.
I actually really liked Coldplay's one because they brought Beyonce out and they brought Bruno Mars out.
Yeah, it was cool.
I think the biggest whiff in halftime show history is J-Lo and Shakira did not bring out Pitbull.
I would agree
Yeah.
with that. That it was missing one thing.
I
and
was
it was
sitting
Pitbull.
there and I was like, they have to bring out Pitbull. He's in so many of J-Lo's songs. Mr. Worldwide, and they didn't bring him out.
I know.
I
a
still
travesty.
don't understand. They brought, and
Lost
no
opportunity.
disrespect to Bad Bunny, but at that time, Bad Bunny was not Pitbull.
I
No,
agree.
Yeah.
I will say like another one that comes to mind. I'm not the biggest rap fan, but the halftime show of the Bengals Rams in
Yeah,
LA
See,
with
I was
Snoop Dogg.
I was just so confused because there was too many.
so many
too
people.
There's a
many
lot
main
going
acts.
on.
Like,
Who'd
all
they
of them
bring out?
individually. It was Snoop Dogg, it
Dr.
was
Dre,
Kendrick, Dr. Dre,
Mary J.
Eminem,
Blige was there.
Mary J. Blige,
50 Cent.
There was
It was crazy. It was like a
every
music
There's a lot
festival.
going on.
Every single
Yeah.
person could have had their own halftime show.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And you know what I didn't love is Usher too. But
Yeah, that one wasn't great.
yeah.
Do you want to talk about the Chiefs a little bit?
Yeah,
Now that we're
so
getting to it.
we'll quickly run through the Chiefs' recent memory here. So the Chiefs have won multiple Super Bowls in the past couple of years now. Behind Patrick Mahomes, he's their star quarterback. Star tight end Travis Kelce as well, who was dating Taylor Swift. In 2020, the Chiefs did beat the 49ers in the Super Bowl, so that actually, I believe, was one of the crazier Super Bowls that we've seen.
Mahomes is first.
It was, yeah. And so that kind of started the dynasty that the Chiefs are now running with. Now, last year, the Chiefs ended up winning the Super Bowl again against the San Francisco 49ers. Really,
In overtime.
yeah, in overtime.
25-22.
Yeah,
Another overtime game.
25-22. Really just a devastating loss, I feel like, for the 49ers. Felt like they were kind of in control. One of their star defensive players literally got injured running onto the field.
Yep.
yeah.
It was devastating.
Yeah, and then the game turned because the 49ers muffed a punt on their
Yeah.
own 10-yard. The Chiefs hadn't scored really until then, and then it kind of gave life to the Chiefs. And I don't know, I feel like the 49ers were a lot better than the Chiefs that game, and there was a lot of conspiracy after that game that the 49ers got no penalty calls.
Yeah.
Or sorry, the Chiefs got no penalty calls because there was like obvious holding on the Chiefs and all these obvious calls, and nothing went the 49ers' way that game, and they still only lost in overtime.
Second straight win for the Chiefs, too, in the Super Bowl. And
Yep.
now they're going for their third against the Eagles,
And
who they
that-
also beat 2 years ago.
2 years ago, they beat the Eagles. So,
Also on a controversial holding call.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, now that we're on the subject of this year's Super Bowl, this year we have a rematch of the Super Bowl from 2 years ago. We have the Chiefs versus the Eagles. And as you guys have mentioned, there's a lot of controversy surrounding officiating for the Chiefs and things like that. Honestly, have no idea how this game's going to go. The Chiefs 2 years ago won 38-35 against the Eagles.
Really close.
Really close game. Both teams are relatively similar this year, I would say. So, I don't know what you guys think about what will happen in this game. I really have no idea. Will the refs make an appearance and kind of ruin it for all of America, or are we going to have, a great showing from the Eagles?
Did you see the ref that was appointed to the game is one of the most... he throws more flags than most refs in the
Oh,
NFL.
boy.
Who
per
is it?
game.
Ronald Torbert, I think.
Yeah, it's someone that's just...
What a name.
He kind of takes over the game sometimes, and that does not favor the Eagles in this game.
I mean, we'll see.
Does not.
I mean, names to watch quickly. Patrick Mahomes, obviously. Travis Kelce with Taylor Swift. On the Eagles, Saquon Barkley.
Jalen
So
Hurts.
Jalen Hurts.
A.J. Brown will be reading a book on the sideline.
Yep, if everyone sees that, can we clip him reading a book? They caught a video of that a couple weeks ago, and people were up in arms in the internet about it. But
So, fun fact about that book, too, because there was a bunch of posts about it. So, they
Yeah.
saw him. This is how big the NFL has become. They saw A.J. Brown reading this book. People found out what the name of the book was, and it was up 5 million% in sales on Amazon. It became the number one selling book on Amazon.
People are saying that
crazy.
The biggest advertisement opportunity is for some author or publisher to pay A.J. Brown to read a certain book on the sidelines.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it will be the number one book after the Super
100%.
Bowl.
But that just shows the influence that the NFL has
Absolutely.
around the world. And that was during a playoff game. This is the Super Bowl, the biggest event of the year, sporting event of the year. So everyone's going to be tuning in. If I had to pick, I mean, I know we said we're all rooting for the Eagles. I do think they get him back this time, get some revenge. I don't think it'll be as high scoring. I think if I had to give a score prediction, give me 27-21 Eagles.
I'm going to go Eagles. I think that they are going to try and control the game, but I do think that it will open up a bit in the second. I'm going to go with 31-28 Eagles.
I like that. I'm actually going to go more low scoring than both of you. I'm going to go 21-18 to the Eagles.
Okay.
18.
It's going to be a very
Interesting
weird.
number.
It's going to be a weird
6
game.
field goals from the Chiefs, or
Something weird's going to happen. Maybe a
2-point
safety,
an octopus.
2-point conversion, an octopus is what I'm thinking. There's going to be something where I think the Chiefs are going to be down in the game, and they're going to drive down the field once, and they will score and convert a 2-point conversion, make it a field goal game, and then I think Mahomes is going to throw an interception on their last drive.
wouldn't that be lovely?
It would be great.
I will just sit back and enjoy that moment if it happens.
Absolutely.
Get excited, though.
Yeah.
We got Kendrick Lamar performing at halftime, bringing SZA on stage with him. Watch out for all those commercials. Like, it's going to be awesome.
The commercials are excellent. I know that we were talking about it, Zeke and I, before we recorded this. We had, like, the Bud Night. That's a huge commercial.
Bud Night. Dilly Dilly.
Awesome.
That debuted in the Super Bowl, right?
Oh, yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Duncan had a commercial, the Dunk Kings commercial that was, like, crazy.
The Dunk Kings! Touchdown, Tommy on them keys!
There's been a ton.
Doritos always have good commercials. During the Super
There's
Bowl.
usually a good Gatorade one. As we said, there's going to be a Budweiser one, most likely.
Yep.
Look, it's going to be a good game. I think that people are mad because the Chiefs are always there recently, and the Eagles were there 2 years ago, and people don't love the Eagles fans and their coach, but it's going to be a good game. It could be a really high scoring, fun game. It could be a tight, low scoring game. We'll see.
And think about all the iconic plays we discussed in the 2000s too. Like if you decide to tune in this year, there could be a crazy play, and instead of watching it back on YouTube, you go, hey, I actually saw that live. I was watching it live with my buddies, my friends. So absolutely tune in if you can.
Super commercial prediction. Any commercial predictions? Mine's going to be McConaughey is going to have another absurd commercial.
100%. I think Ben Affleck.
Maybe not Uber Eats. Maybe not. But he's been with Uber Eats lately, so I could see McConaughey, Texas Longhorn, Uber Eats combo. That's my prediction.
I think that there's going to be a crypto commercial where Sam Bankman-Fried's narrating it from prison. That's my prediction.
Threw me off completely. I think that I think Doritos will come out with another great commercial. I always look forward to those. And I actually think Bud Light will have more of those great commercials with like Post Malone,
Shane
Gillis,
Gillis,
Peyton Manning. Those
ones.
commercials are hilarious. So, and their marketing department always does a pretty good job with the Super Bowl.
They do.
So, look, even if you don't care about football, even if you don't want to watch it, the Super Bowl has something for everyone. And at the end of the day, we hope that you'll tune in. The commercials are great. The halftime show's great. It's always super exciting to watch. That's really all that we have for today. We hope that you learned a lot about the Super Bowl, and maybe even this will help you pick your future team that you're going to root for. We really hope that you learned a lot today about the Super Bowl. We hope we got you excited for it. We're going to be posting an episode every other week or even every week, really just kind of covering everything that you would need to know about the history of maybe a certain sport. Maybe you're curious specifically about who is Tom Brady. That's something that we hope to cover here on SportNotes, but that's all we have for today, so please follow us on socials at SportNotes on Instagram and also on TikTok as well. And you can also listen to this on Spotify. So thanks so much for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl.